Oh. Right, we're back in again. Part 2, skip bike. Tripping over the greaser. As I start most of these videos, the workshop is in a bit of a mess, but I've got a kind of a good excuse because I've got a big pile of stuff there that's still waiting to go back up to the other workshop or get binned, and I've got a whole load of stuff to sort out, and this is one of the many things that's lying around that I need to start sorting out. So if you remember last time, we were having a few issues with this with the bottom bracket. We've got it all sorted out now, that's all good. So hopefully that's the last problem we have with that. Frame's actually cleaned up quite nicely. The paint doesn't look anywhere near as bad now we've got all the garbage off it. If you imagine that's what the rest of the frame looked like, I've still got to clean them off. We did manage to break the chain using that strange chain brake that they've got, and I've just stuck my fingers in all that grease. We've got to replace that pin that was missing. We've got to replace the part of the saddle adjuster clamp that was missing. A lot of the stuff, the oily stuff's in the parts washer soaking at the moment. I think the next job is probably get the forks on, and then we've got a frame to start building a rolling chassis on. I did buy some tyres. I know this is supposed to be a zero cost, but if you remember, the tyres were pretty wait for it, tired. They were okay. They look okay until you blow them up, and then you realise they're absolutely full of cracks on the outside. They're perfectly alright on the inside, but if I'm asking somebody to buy a bike that's quite an old bike, and that I think it's probably better if I put some new tyres on. So unfortunately, even though they've got tons of tread left on them, as with most of these bikes, before the tyres even get worn down they end up in the skip, which is where that was going. So use your rubber. I'll give you a quick tour around the workshop. I'll bring you back in a minute. So that was absolute carnage. If you remember, that fell over. I don't know if you guys saw it on camera, but I was trying to move it out of the way, and this floor's really uneven now. It's one of the reasons why we need to get all this cleared out to get this floor sorted out. But the foot dropped into a dip and the whole thing tipped over. I had all the drawers open, so it was my own fault. So basically most of the contents of the drawers ended up on the floor. Everything that was in there ended up on the floor, so all the stuff I'd actually sorted into nice piles is now in a mess. So I've got to go through that a lot and sort it out again. Some of the bits are up here anyway, some of the bits are there. They all need to go back in there. They were rescued from the floor as well. As you can see, we're kind of halfway through a few jobs. I did relent and buy another chain cleaner. So this is, I've had one of these before. It lasted all of half an hour last time I broke it. We'll try and see if we can make that one last a bit longer. What else did I buy the other day? Oh yeah, we bought a new seat for this bike here. I haven't decided what I'm doing with this bike yet. It was bought originally to be a training tool. For me to allow athletes to have a go on a TT bike before they go and waste the money on them, because some people just can't ride a TT bike. They are quite difficult. I've ridden this bike and it is very twitchy, but I'm used to riding track bikes, fixes with a similar configuration. So after about 5 minutes on the road, I was more than comfortable to sit on the bars and ride all the way around, apart from when I need to brake. But that's the biggest thing. They've got to get used to keep adjusting their position all the time, because the gears are there, the brakes are there. So if you're riding on the out front bars, the TT bars, and you want to brake, you've got to change your position back to there fairly quickly, and at the same time you've got to remember then to put your hands back to change your gear, or change gear before you move your position. So now, like I said, I haven't decided what I'm going to do with this yet, because I didn't get much take up last year. I thought people would snap my hand off to have a go on a bike, no risk, you know. I'm not going to get arsey if they prang it, but I think they're carbon. I'll make a decision whether or not I let it go. I did kind of think about taking the TT setup off it and turning it into a normal road bike, and put the TT bars on the old broken carbon frame that I've got on the turbo trainer. But I'll be honest, the amount it was going to cost me to either buy a set of SRAM Apex shifters for 10-speed are ridiculously priced. I mean, you could not be the opposite direction to what the cost of the mountain bike shifters are. It's like 150 quid for a set of shifters. I mean, that's ridiculous for something that's several iterations, you know, off and a 10-speed as well. I mean, that's kind of, you know, that's silly money. But alternatively, if I wanted to put all of this and just stick it on the carbon bike, on the road bike, and take the Ultra Good group set and put it on here, I was still going to have to buy a derailleur, because that's it's a tube fit on the other one. So I was going to have to buy a derailleur, and I was also going to have to buy a tube clamp to put this derailleur on the other bike. And by the time I've done that, it was coming up to 60-70 quid. And I would have been giving away an Ultra group set on a bike that I don't think I'll get a lot for it. I think tops, you're probably looking, you know, if I bide my time and wait for the right person, tops, I'm probably going to get 5 for this. So, you know, it is what it is. So I've just got to decide whether I'm just going to let it go or just keep it for another season and see if anybody takes it up. But what I did want to do was take this this ISM seat off, because I use those ISM seats. So again, it's not going to make that much difference to the sale price if I take that off and put a Salitalia on. But I use those seats. As you can see, I've got one there. And I think you'll find I've got exactly the same seat on the mountain bike as that one, even though it says road. Yeah, it is exactly the same. One's just the white and one's just the black. That's the only downside to that, is the white. But I managed to pick up a Salitalia in the sale. Good saddles then. It's what I used to ride originally. I think it was a Salitalia Bernardino. I used to ride way back in the day when I was racing. Anyway, right, we've waffled enough. Let's crack on with this green thing. Right. As I said, the first thing we need to do is get these cleaned up. I'm not going to put them in the... Do you know what? I might put them in the parts washer. And then I can give the other things a quick clean off as well. This stuff is really... it's horrible sticky oil. And I don't know where it's come from. I don't know why you would chuck that much oil around there. Because it's not like the brakes are there. The brakes are down here. So I don't know whether somebody's been trying to oil this, because there was a problem with that. It was horrible, but the problem was with it. It was loose. It wasn't anything else. So, unless it's just heat and the grease has seeped out because it was loose. But anyway, it needs a clean. Let's get it in the parts washer. Oh, shift the garbage off the top. So that can go in the cupboard. What is that? All right, that's come from the workshop. Engine cooler for the Ducati. I'm toying with going waterless on the Ducati, because I'm probably going to... I'm not getting any immediate urges to sell it, so I kind of don't mind investing in something that's a longer term thing. This desperately needs cleaning out. The missing brush. See how well it clears it off now. See, it's not moving it. I don't mind, to give it a bit of a dusting of the neat stuff. So it's just a more concentrated version of what's in there. In here, effectively, this is just an industrial big volume version of gunk. There's a big container down there that I buy it in. Yeah, it's starting to come off. I don't really want to start digging at it with anything heavier, because it could potentially damage the paintwork. But like I said, this solvent in here is not, well, it is solvent, but it's fruit-based solvent. It's a citrus-based solvent, so it's safe on the environment and it's cheaper. I think I've said that on some other videos in the past. That's the main reason. The petrochemical solvent-based ones do tend to destroy the pump eventually as well, so that's another reason for not using them. I mean, you can see the way this has run down. It's definitely, there's something not right. It is starting to break it up. So all of a sudden it seems to free up and come off. Nails, some of those, before the nails get too soft. It's a lot warmer in here tonight. The air temperature outside's almost in double figures, but obviously it's not got into this tank, so this water's still a bit cold in my hands, so I'm being a bit mesh. Yes, I know, I'm an open water swimmer. Probably speeding through most of this now. Kind of part of the time I just stop talking when I'm doing this, because I know when I've got good intentions, there'll be loads of pearls of wisdom, but then I end up fast forwarding it. Usually because the video's too long. Anyway, right, I'll stop you there. Well, beep. Are you on? Let me have a quick look. The trouble is, there's no red light on the front of this. Oh yeah, the red light's on the back, hopefully. They're a lot better. There's still a couple of little bits and that, but I'll just leave it wet for the time being and see if they come off with a. They might just come off when I like that, when I rub the frame down and dry it up. They'll get the last few bits off. You're probably focusing on something else right now, which is what normally happens when I watch these back. All right. While I'm here, I'm just going to take a couple of minutes and clean the derailleur and chain off. You really don't need to see that. They weren't too bad. They were more dusty and covered in bits of paint and grime, but now they've come up okay then. So quite. Way back on. I'm digging around the back of this. God, this stuff I'm tripping over. They've come up quite nicely actually. They look pretty rough, but do you know what? They're not that bad. I mean, they are what they are. They're just bottom of the line entry level Shimano front derailleur. I think it's actually a Cis back derailleur. I don't even think it's Shimano. Oh, it is a Shimano. A Shimano Cis. I thought Cis were a separate brand. I thought they were like Suntour Cis. Maybe Shimano bought Suntour. It was all around about that time I packed in. I could swap this for another derailleur. I've got loads, but to be honest, it's not worth it. It'd be overkill for the bike it's going on. I mean, it's overkill with the crank I've put on it, to be honest, but that other crank, I don't rate much to that. See if we can clean these up a bit as well. Might stick some plastic restorer on them. They're not too bad. Coming up all right. They were running okay. One of them was a little bit graunchy, but it wasn't what I would call a major issue. I think this one was the better of the two. Oh no, that one feels graunchy as well now. They're just dusty more than anything else. So we'll just use this to get in there and just clean all the stuff out of them. Might look better then. And then they might not. Sling them in there. Right, I think we're done with this. I'll just stick that on there to dry. I'll put you back to bed. Don't look at that. Right, onwards and upwards. Oh, let's get you back a bit. You zoomed in or zoomed out? Right, there we go. This is where I try and keep you in focus. Where's the flap gone? Come on, flap. So you're not allowed to use the word flap. Right, I'm just going to give these a quick wipe down. I had a look at them earlier. They're all right actually. I mean, you can see I've just given that a quick run. And you can see they're quite clean there. And that was just giving them a quick roll around in this cloth here, so quite pleased with that. They look alright, just want a bit of grease in them. We'll chuck them back in. Same with this. This is what it looked like before we started. Yeah. See if this one cleans up as well. Yeah. It's mainly just dirty grease than anything else, so no worries with this. I don't think we're going to have any issues. It just, all they wanted is just repacking with grease and putting back together again. I'll just give the caps a quick wipe over, just make sure there's no muck in the threads. Like I said, this whole tray did a dive onto the floor. There's a little bit of crud stuck to this one, so I'll get in there with nail. That's a bit of, because what you don't want is you want a good surface when you bind it up, because otherwise the dust will gradually get dislodged as you get a bit of plane movement on the head, and then what will happen is it will then become loose and it will come off. Yeah, this one's pretty yucky. I might have to go and give this a bit of degreaser. Yeah, that's very yucky. It's coming off. We get a bit of brake fluid on that. That's going to make my fingers sting. Yeah. The not brake fluid. The brake degreaser, brake disc cleaner, does seem to shift it. It is fairly sticky, but it goes hard as well, and it's when it's hard it won't come off. Yeah, that's good. I think we're good there. So the back side of this is part of the channel. When I had a look at this, there's no signs of pitting or anything. Come on, focus. So if you can see that, the light's not particularly helping. Yeah, it all looks good. It's a nice clean line round. There's no sign of any pitting or marking on it. There's no discernible ridge. It's just taking the anodising off, so that's fine. Just chuck that in. They can go in the bin. The old bolts. Or should we keep them? Might keep them for something. You never know. Right, grease. We use the heavy duty stuff on this again. Just going to get rid of that before I lose that one as well. So we've already cleaned out the cups. So the best way to do this is to get a nice smear on the cup first, because you can stick the ball races in then if you need to. Same with the bottom. I'm not going to stick them in though. I'm going to feed them up on the fork, but I'm just going to make sure that that's nicely evenly all the way round. Better to have too much because it will just displace it. It's not going to cause any hydrolocking, which you can get sometimes if you overpack something. When you crank down on it, if there's nowhere for the grease to go, you can split metal quite easily. You'll be amazed how much force you can generate through a thread bearing down. I mean, I have undone particularly stubborn car brakes when the pistons have got stuck in by forcing grease into the chamber and then just driving a screw into the bleed hole, and it just literally just pops them straight out. Right, so that goes up there, ball's facing down. I've just put grease all over this now. We'll grease up the threads once it's through, because it'll probably pick up some grease as it goes through anyway. Same again with this one, we just need to pack that with grease now. If the tray will give it me back. It hasn't filled it full of muck. I do need to clean those trays now. They've landed on the floor in all the sawdust. Sawdust, believe it or not, is magnetic. Because I'll tell you one thing, it stuck to them trays and it made a beeline for them. So I'm packing the back of these greases because it's an open cage at the back, so it just makes it easier to get the grease into the running area, and it'll retain it there. Whereas if you just smear it on the outside, it'll just get pushed out of the way. This way it'll get fed round. So that way up for this one because the cone's going through. Right, here's the magic bit. Do I want to go and stand at the other side so you can see what I'm doing? And I stand at the other side so you can see what I'm doing. So these are fairly straightforward. It's as simple as they come. And again, it's finger tight, that's why it's nailed. See what I mean about that's picked up a load of grease on its way through now. So I can just smear that round. There's an argument you could put molly slip on it, but to be honest, most of this is, there's some grit in there, and that's a bit of a pain. I have to get the, my hands are covered in grease now. Let me go and get a rag. Oh, I'm stuck. Oh, that might help. I'll be glad when all this rubbish is out of here. Yeah, there's obviously some muck in the threads, and the trouble is they're a very fine thread, so I'm just working it through. I'm not using a tool because if you use a tool it'll generally, there's a risk you might damage the thread. I said that though, that's getting so far, and that's really, we know it's threading anyway, so I might have to go and get something on it, or we'll just whip it off and give it a quick clean out. Try and work out what it is that's causing that problem. I can't see it, there will be a lump somewhere that's causing that. You know I'm going to drop this in a minute, don't you? And you're all going to laugh. So I'm not wiping the thread off the grease off the outside. I'm just wiping the inside of the thread. Feels as like there's like a lump of grit or something. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get a wrench on that. It's not going to go. Well, there's one thing, it's definitely on straight, so I'm not risking a thread. Let's go and find something. See, in the olden days, they used to have they would have had a hex nut on the outside of this, but all that happened was people would over tighten them, so it has got to be finger tight. What you'll find is this will go through to a certain point, and then all of a sudden it'll free up. So it could even be the threads have got damaged if I've knocked the forks over without realising. It's starting to free up now. There you go. Yeah, it was just the threads at the top. Yeah, you can see there's there's a flat spot, so it does look like it's had a bit of a knock. It's like I said, there's usually a flat spot where you feed the washer has a tooth in it that sits into a groove, and the idea of that is that when you tighten the nut down at the top, it can't spin the nut at the bottom. And that's important because there's no way to hold this nut on other than finger tight. It still wants to go a bit further. be careful now because it's like I said, it needs to be finger tight. Nope, still not there. So I'm wondering whether somebody's fouled the tooth off that when they've been trying to fix this, and that's okay. Maybe it has to back off a little bit because when you clamp down on it, it will move it. The general rule of thumb is it should be hand tight, and then you turn it back a little bit. But obviously, I can't do hand tight because the thread's tight. I can't feel any play, but you won't notice until you put the brakes on. It feels like it's got a nice amount of drag. It's certainly not in the state it was in when we first did this. Right. So we'll stick that down there. We'll stick this up here. We'll probably have exactly the same problems again now. Just got to make sure we get the threads right with this one. It's because this one, these nuts are. I think I had it first time, but there it is. That's it. It's gone. Yeah, I've got it through the first few threads, so that's fine. I'll just snug it down, and then I'll go and get a spanner, and I'll try and hold the ring at the bottom as I bring this one down. Actually feels alright. That's moving really well now. We are on, aren't we? Yeah. I seem to have done that last time. The last episode's filming was probably some of the worst filming I've done. I don't know what was up with me. Camera work was shocking. That was the thing when we used to use the other camera. It was quite easy to do. And I've got to be careful here because now it is quite obvious that the forks are spinning as I go down with that. Right, okay, we're going to be like that, are we? That actually feels okay. I'll just give it one last twinge, just to make sure it can't come undone. I think that is a good one. Yep. Brilliant. Right, one tin empty. Next. Right. These. I didn't want to put these on, but I thought I got a spare stem, but I haven't. So what I've done is I've just cranked it down to when it's low point. If somebody else wants to put it up, it's their risk. I'll just run a light amount of grease on here just to stop any chance of it seizing into the thing, because it's either chromed or it's a dissimilar metal anyway. Either way, there's a high probability that it's going to get locked up into there. There's plenty of grease on that anyway, on the pivot, so we will just shove that in there and hope for the best. Right, that's as low as it can go apparently. Like I said, I don't think that's the original stem. Right, mini torque wrench. We know what the setting is, don't we? 7 Newton meters, unless it says different. Can't see anything on there, so we'll give it the old 7 Newton meters. Yep, that's tight. That's already tight. That's tight. That's a big one, and we need a 6 next. So this is a 6. I think we're gonna have to slacken them off because I've moved them down, so they've rotated. so they'll need to bikes almost level, so I need to, general rule of thumb, I try to get these, that bit as near to upright as possible, and obviously centred since it's now decided to go for a wander. Of course, that means a keggy handy. Right, and it's slid back. Oops. Let me put that down. Let me do it by hand. Make sure we get that in. That's it. That ain't going anywhere. Right, they look a lot better angled than they were before now. Oh yes. Right. Right. Question, what should we do next? I'll swing it back a bit now, so you can see what we're up to. I've made some right mucky paw prints on there. Right, okay with that. I think we'll get the derailleurs on next. I think that's possibly the easiest thing to get done. If I can work out what bits went where. I'll let me put the brakes on. Right, I think these went on here with this, like something like that, because they don't have a drop, these, they sit in there, so we'll not over tighten it. On the 10mm spanner. I think it was 10mm. We can roughly work out where this went. It'll actually go in a different place now because it's we've changed the crank. So what I might do is just stick it on loose. Just eyeball it in. Technically I should torque this. I picked up the 11. Oh, this is a 9. It's a 9. It's quite tight on there. It's okay though, I think we're good. 9. Who uses 9s? Right, derailleurs are on. I think we'll put the brakes on next. I'll bring you back for that because I think they're going to need a little bit of... Boom! They've come up alright. Stand behind it. Come on, focus. Nope, not having it. I just used traffic film remover. They are plastic coated metal, so it seems to work quite well, that. Again, a little bit of grease. Can you guess I'm trying to use this up? I should be using the red grease on this, to be honest. Just don't get any down the centre because there's a, it says there's nearly, chuck some down, there's some liquid, some thread lock in there. I'll just grease them up. I think the front and the backs are the same. Put them in the middle hole if you don't know any better. There's 3 holes. And if the springs are weak or they don't feel like they're pulling back enough, just put it in a tighter hole. But that feels okay. Same for the other one. So still see the foam still on that one. So we'll just finish off wiping that off. We'll find out we've got 2 entirely different brake levers, or we've got the same side from we have as well. I've cleaned the front brake. I've cleaned the same one on the other side. Again, middle. They should be the same. I don't think there's any difference front to back, to be honest. Watch the magic. So it conditions the plastic, this, but it gets all the stuff off that you tend to find with plastic, it bonds to it. So any oils and things get into the surface and it just seems to free it up, but then it puts a protective barrier back on the plastic again. So, and it doesn't do, it's not like the silicone dashboard spray, so it doesn't matter if you get it on the brake pads. Let's have a look at these. Are these pretty? We'll try and get some that are even. So I think that one's probably better on that one because that looks about more aligned to that. It's quite stiff on there. It's alright. Got there eventually. The spring was starting to pop out. Yeah, I think they've got a bit more meat on them. I said they're coming up really nicely actually. It's like this bike looked terrible, but it is actually underneath all the muck. It didn't look that bad. You know what Mike Brewer says? Polishing the pound notes into it. Don't listen to anything Mike Brewer says. Don't get me started on that one. So that's really weird. They feel really nice, but these feel really, on both of these on this side feel really shit. Anyway, let's get the screws in. Where's the rest of them? Don't think that belongs with that one. There must be a screw in here somewhere. This might be one of the failures we lost overboard when it went over. I can only find 3 of the screws. Or it's stuck to the bottom. It's stuck to the bottom. We're still missing the that'll be it there then. Yep, that was it. Found them all. £5mm, where are you? Is that away with fairies too? Oh, there it is. There's no real torque setting for these. It's steel into steel. You just want to get it so it's solid. You drive it down all the way into the frame, so it's as tight as you want to get it without stripping the threads, because they don't make any difference, because there's you're tightening down onto that tube that's sticking through from the frame. Everything else runs on a brass collet. They got really fancy with these and started putting really tiny needle bearings and ball races in them, but it was just pointless. It's not that kind of... It's just a way of taking money off stupid people again. There's the BMXE era. Yeah, they're okay. They're actually moving alright now. Might be able to watch what I'm up to with this one. Can you see it? Or do you need to move around a bit? God, that was a cracking piece of panning there. I could stick some tennis balls on the end of them to stop me poking myself in the eyes, but I don't think I'd learn anything. And it wouldn't be anywhere near as entertaining. Right, let's just give them a quick tweak. That's it. Have to be careful with these bolts, they do have a habit of stripping out. And I think that one is on the verge of it. Right. Next, shall we stick some shifters on? It's gear levers first, isn't it? Right. Guessing that's the front one. Let's give it a good dosing of film remover. I've got tons of that stuff, so don't worry about me. I'm using. I could be using many other things, so I'm not saying use that. I'm using it because it's available. I've got loads of it. I've got loads of dashboard cleaner as well. So every time you go and buy yourself a whole load of kit for cleaning cars, you forget you've got half of it already still in the garage that you've never used. And then other people have emptied their garages into my garage, or people have moved out and left stuff in it in a garage that we've inherited. These are actually quite good. These are actually stainless steel by the looks of it, which is unusual. So just a quick check of the state of the actual cabling. It seems to be moving free enough, so I'm not gonna get too excited over that. Front brake, this side. This side. Just wang that all the way in. Remember, we're not putting the we're not putting the bar ends on, so that should make life a little bit easier. Where does that go? Does that go at the back? I think that goes at the back, doesn't it? And then this goes on the front, like so. I would have thought there would have been a washer there, but interesting. Come on, through the hole. You go through that hole as well. Right, so they just need tightening up when we get the wheel in. I'll leave it there. I will have to pop that out for the wheel, but otherwise it'll end up flapping all over the place. So we'll leave that as it is. I'm just going to put the other handlebar on. bit easier, because that's all there is. Let me just kick that over there out of the way. So I could clean up these bolts because they are a bit rusty, but probably before I sell it, it'll look exactly the same again. I don't like that. That's just asking for somebody to whack the finger on, but at least it's the opposite side of the fence, so to speak. Something is beeping at me. Right, chuck them on like that. Brake cable. Oh, that's the gear cable. That's the gear cable. That's the brake cable. That looks like the brake cable. Oh yeah, that's the brake cable. I've lost my cloth. Should be enough of that stuff on this. It's covered in oil as well, so. Right, so this was the one where it was slightly damaged and it was all mangled, so. Should we try that again? That's better. Right. Shove that in there. Make sure it's got a little bit of play in it. Push that there. Right. So that goes. Oh, now then, where does that go? I think that goes over there. Yep, it does. Breathe in. Oh, there we go. And then it goes through there. You paying attention? And that's helpful, that one, because it only threads through there. And then it goes to there, so we are missing something. And I need to make sure that that goes into the groove. There is actually a groove in there for you to put your cable in. And we are missing something. There you go. Found it. That's a bit of squidgy love. There we go. Ugh. I'll stop chucking this on the floor because it's just getting covered in sawdust. It's gone slightly perish that. I suspect somebody's been spraying something on that didn't want to go on that. Right. So they normally have an inner. And this is not playing ball. Come on. Yay. That is actually quite tight in there. We might have to have a look at that. I think it's okay once it's gone through, but that was quite tight. So that wants to go over there, sits up there, and then that'll go through there when I find the missing clamp on. So weirdly that one has got a washer on it. I wonder if I put the wrong washer on one of those. That one. That one there, I would guess. Think of that missing washer, I thought, and then I thought I'd found it. I think I picked up the washer that was supposed to go on that over there. So we'll just whiz that off and just see if that's the case. Is it the 5? It's the 5. Could be wrong. I think that's the same size as the one we've just pulled out. There it is. Check the 2 front ones. Maybe it just wasn't one in the front. Sure we can find one. Now I know there is supposed to be one there. It did seem a bit odd that that nut was disappearing into the inside. Yeah, I think we just I think that is a 10. Right, that's what we're looking for. Let's have a look. Tiny washers. Tiny washers. That's what we're looking for. I bet it won't fit over though. Nope. Right, I'm going to put a spring washer on it then. It definitely needs something back there. Come on. Awkward. Right, I'm making a guess that that's roughly where it was because that's where the that's where the mark on the cable was, the witness mark from where it was last time. Again, we'll just hook them over, leave it at that. Well, we're getting there. She's nearly back together. Right, what's next? Gears. Right, this one's going to be a bit of an interesting one because we're going to fit this to the bottom. And the gears are that way. So, let me find a screwdriver. Should be a Phillips, but we're going to use a posi. Because I'm a rebel like that. So remember, we had to take this out because this screw was holding the plastic sheathing in that keeps the muck out of the bearings. God, I didn't do a very good job there, did I? So we've got the cables back in. Just got to work out which ones go where now. Right, 1, 2 and 3, that one goes on this side. Oops, on this side. So how do we get that round there? Guessing that goes in. Sorry, I'm stood in your way again, aren't I? That goes in there, all the way down to there. All the way up there, through that little hole that's an absolute pain up the butt, and then disappears around there somewhere. A puff of logic. Because that's helpful, because it wasn't all the way in. Right, I think we're just going to leave that for a minute. So it just fell off there, that was not helpful. Oh well, if it was an end cap, I'm sure I'll be able to find it. It probably was, looking at it. Right, so you need to go in there. Sure we can find another one if it was an end cap. You can go up there. And that's right, because you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you should be on 1. That's it. Oh, there it is. Spotted it. And this one as well is slightly worse for wear. I'm going to have to trim this one. It's not. It doesn't want to. Well, it does want to go through. It's made me a liar. So somewhere we've got a adjustable piece for that, because I've seen it in here floating around somewhere. There we go. Don't think it was anything fancy. I can see me cutting the end of this off because it's not making life easy. Oh, there we go. It would be helpful if you just got out of the way. Fiddly, fiddly, fiddly. Helpful if we actually had the thread through it. Right, that's that one on. Question is it everywhere it should be? Sounds like it. It's a very oh, that could be why. That could be why, because it was the wrong way around. Right. Just give that a little nip up. I think it was an 8, because we like using all our tools for these. Oh no, it wasn't. It was a 9, because We've obviously bought the 9 and we want to get our money's worth out of it. I would say that's nowhere near where it wants to be. I think that is somewhere not a million miles away. That's dropped out of its recess again. There's a the square's got a the bolt's got a flat side on it, and it has to drop into a particular place, and it was in that particular place, but it's now decided it doesn't want to be in that place anymore. Doesn't help, I can't even see where that place is anymore. Right, I think that's it. It's just been a little bit awkward. I don't know why it wasn't going in straight away. Right, let's temporarily tighten these down and get these grips on. Grip, grip. Of course, this is where we find we've lost the other one of these because it flew out on the floor. And the cabin fell over. That's one of them. No, we've got them all. Right, grip shift. On you go. Oh, still didn't put the... Right, that's that one sorted. Right, you go on there. You go on there. You go in there. That's it. Sorted. Just got to work out which one of these little tiny ones does that now. I think it's that one. Because that's helpful. I just can't poke myself in the eye with the hand grips anymore. That's your entertainment done for this evening. Oh, that was stiff. I'll have to have a look at that, or beef up the springiness on that. That's not very good. Or it could be it's just Could be the battery's getting a bit low. Right, speed up then. I think it's a 12. I seem to remember these are a 12, they are a 12. Right, so we've dropped that in. There's a line in there and you have to try and get it in the middle of the saddle so that it doesn't move around and the saddle can't spin on it. That's not good, it's flipping moved. My phone has stopped pinging, it's really annoying me. Right, we're probably going to have to adjust this anyway because the chance of me getting it actually level is pretty much zero, I would say. Just give the saddle a quick once over. Still need to work out what we're going to do about the fact that that's red and it should be green or black. Black would be better. Red and green should never be seen. Like I said, I'm not entirely convinced that's the right seat post anyway. I'll probably find that's the same size spangler. Either be a 12 or a 13. It's a 13. Told you that was going to be the case. Oh, actually got the ratchet the right way around, that never happens. Right, the bike's probably more back together than it was when it arrived now. How are we doing for time? Nearly 9 o'clock. So I've got some concerns at the moment about how this chain's going to work with that. So I'm thinking I might get the tyres and the wheels on. But I think that's not a bad crack. We're nearly there. Let's stick the chain back on, and then I might call it a day for this one, and then just finish it off with the wheels because I've got to strip those wheels down. I know that. There is a right and a wrong side for this chain as well, so it's shiny on the outside. And it's flipping awkward to get it through here. I hate 3-speed bikes. I was so glad when they binned them off. This is that weird sprung clip arrangement that I've got to get back together. That's it. Now in theory I seem to remember that you could actually get them back together just by flexing the chain. There you go. So it's just popped back together. Spot on. Let me just stick the gadget on, which probably won't work on this bike because it's not a bike that's designed to have quick release on, but we'll have a bash with it. I don't think there's any reason why it can't work, to be honest. I might have to slacken it off slightly because there's a bit more meat there with that derailleur being there. It's a bit, yeah, there's not much room there. Which one's that one? That's interesting. That does work quite nicely. And it's on 3. And that's on 2. And that's on 1. So if anything, that does want to go down a little bit. It's right at the bottom. I think it's because it's such a... I think it's going to cause us some major challenges if we knock it down a bit. We might actually have to take a link out of this. But I think we will take a link out of that. This was 1, I think. It's because that cog's smaller. Why did I do it up? So now I've got to find the tool that's buried in here somewhere that I've just seen 2 seconds earlier. Right. Oh. It has popped off. I didn't think it had, but it has. Just going to prise it out of the way now then. Come on. Okay, we want to be like that, do we? That's it. So if we just drop that down there and I knock that out, that should make it all better. I'll get the good one right. It's not muck about, let's get the good one on. So we're effectively taking 2 whole links out here. Oops, it would be if it was in the right place. Just take 2 out, and then if we need to take another one out, we'll take another 2 out. I think that'll probably do it, to be honest. I think we've only lost 2 or 3 teeth off it. So, yeah. So that's immediately working now. Yeah, that's too slack. That one's tightening up. Hey ho! Let's get the 9 out again. Get my money's worth out of this 9 today. Yeah, that was way too slack. Say just past 2 now. That's that top one once. I need to nail this one down. It's as low as that wants to go. Just want to tighten that up now. Whoa! Bingo! Too far. Way, I'll say that's a win. That seems to be going all right. Right then, I think we'll call it a day with that one. Well, it looks like we're going to get a part 3 out of this after all. Let's have a quick look at you. That chain's come up really nicely, everything's nice and clean there. Back derailleur looks good. It's got the gauge on. So look how good the brakes look now, because they looked really bad before. Come on, focus. Quite pleased with them. Saddle's on. Again, come on, focus. Battery's nearly dead, so we're going to have to be quick. Right, so part 3 will be coming up. We'll get the wheels done. We'll get the tyres on. And we'll get everything bottomed down and trimmed up. And then we can say bye-bye to this one. Don't forget, like and subscribe. Hope this has been useful.